Let's turn that down just a tad. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Acer Teamstory Cup. As you can see here displayed in the upper right corner of the map, it is currently 2-0, leading in the favor of compLexity. Now, this is a best of 9, so basically first team to 5 wins. We'll have to see if compLexity can keep up this streak, but in recent days, we've cast, and every time we've cast, it started off with like a 2-0, and it gets turned around towards the end. So we'll see if Team we can replicate that. But of course, it is my honor, my pleasure, to introduce not just the man I'm casting with today. I am Rifkin with Doom, but also, more so, in the lower right corner of the map. Spawning blue, spawning Terran. It's going to be none other than Liquid's Taeja.
And the man who has made it 2-0 in this series from compLexity in the red trunks, TheSTC.
This is like the Acer Teamstory Cup. The format's almost perfect in my opinion. I wouldn't mess with it in the slightest, but if I could, I would simply make this match a best of 3 because that's what I would love to see between two players of this caliber. But sadly, it's only a best of 1, guys, so one will stand and one will fall, to quote Optimus Prime.
Yeah, and one will go gas first and one will not. It's TVT, Rifkin. Anything can happen. But more often than not, I've seen a lot of Banshees in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree entirely, but a little curious with the extra gas being taken early. Is the SEC going to open Reapers on, not only in a TVT, but on Belshire of all maps?
Maybe he could be going up to Factory pretty quickly. Hellions are very effective right now, I think, especially en masse, but it could just be progressing his tech. That Reaper is a pretty big investment, but if you go for the Reaper and your opponent really doesn't have anything in the main base, you can cause some havoc, get some good scouting.
Yeah.
Oh, still an effective choice for sure.
But again, actually, Taeja is going to be opening for the Reaper, yeah.
And judging by the gas count from STC here, would not be shocked to see him throw down Factory with that orbital command. Boom shakalaka.
Just getting the quicker Factory, alright. Getting the quicker Factory, of course, will allow you to get quicker Hellions, which are excellent at dealing with Reaper pressure, but as you stated before, Banshees have made their way into this matchup in a big way, but also, so have Ravens as a cause and effect of Banshees being so prevalent. And I gotta tell you, Doom, like, it doesn't take 50 Ravens dropping Seeker Missiles to be cool. Sometimes 1 point defense drone can win or break a fight.
Yeah, and you know what other things good Ravens are good for is spotting out those Widow Mines that just so happen to be planted precise locations to deflect you and whatnot.
If you recall back to the days where we got to cast Pult in the Zotac Cup, there'd be a lot of openings that involved that medevac just dropping 2. No Marines, just 1 Widow Mine in the natural, 1 Widow Mine in the main. And no, it didn't rack up a ton of kills, but man, did it force scans. And sometimes forcing scans, I mean, that's 500 resources essentially lost. 500 resources you don't get from mules. And in those scenarios, it's really hard to keep up your production if you're missing significantly more resources than you're used to having.
It's a pretty big deal. Let's not talk about it lightly. It's a huge deal when you don't get those mules down.
Yeah, it's like missing a third base, missing your expansion.
Yeah, exactly. But it is going to be Banshees here from the STC, and the follow-up is going to be Widow Mines from the Factory, so not going to be going for Hellions here up to bat. Back home here, Taeja has...
Ooh! Runs into those Marines.
It's an interesting choice to go up the ramp. I guess he's assuming that since STC saw the Reapers, he's going to be protecting the outskirts, the other 2 locations where Taeja can hop up into the map. This map really not going to be too effective for the Reaper player, or not give him as many options as other maps would. Jumping in, but...
Bit of a scrappy fight going on.
Reaper gonna die. One thing this has done for the STC though is prevent scouting, Rifkin. I mean, Taeja has not gone into the main base to see what the opener is at all.
That Widow Mine, that Widow Mine. Look at that last second split though out of Taeja, jeez. Yeah, in the meantime, we got the STC getting cloaked Banshees coming out. Taeja will have his own, but of course a little bit later, and it's a little bit... It's so funny, like if both players go for the exact same build and both players go for Banshee, whichever Banshee gets to the other base milliseconds first tends to be the one that wins because your opponent is then forced to defend with a lot of micro. And Taeja pulling off mules, making sure not to lose those resources to the scumbag units.
Yeah, and Taeja saw the starport with Cloak going down. He's in the know. I think he preemptively understood what was happening here. Putting that engineering bay down, going for that Viking right off the bat. Should be okay to hold this off, but...
That is so cool. Look where he put the Widow Mine down.
That's
right in the path of where the Banshee would rally, guys, coming across the field.
Oh, and Taeja almost lost those 2 Hellions in the natural there, the STC, but gonna keep them alive. Very important. But yeah, let's see if he's able to accomplish what he wants to accomplish with the with that Widow Mine there.
Oh, there's a turret available. I was wondering how he's detecting that, but dancing around here. Taeja does have to be careful. There is that Widow Mine there. Scan and the Viking will kill the... Yeah, it's going to die. Alright, well handled. Meanwhile, those 3 Hellions, as you stated before, barely alive by the skins of their teeth, but keeping an eye on the expansion timing, knowing that his opponent's not landed as natural yet. Taeja's going to feel really good. He's already mining off of his. He's muling off of his. And the STC, unfortunately, can't lift off, can't move out just yet.
He's going to go for that 3 command center because he knows he's behind at this point. He didn't get anything done with that Banshee. It wasn't the biggest investment in the world in terms of gas and everything, but he's going to get a tank out here before Taeja has one on the field. So small victories, just kind of count them as you will.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have for later for sure as well. Let's not forget, Banshees against a tank line can sometimes break, like, it's the difference of you being forced to retreat or being able to break that tank line.
Very, very true. And that's something a lot of players don't really recognize is if you just mix a Banshee in with your Raven and Viking composition, you can do a lot of damage in big engagements.
Yeah, certainly.
Better so than scans even to push tank lines back sometimes, but...
Yeah, well, once you get like 15 orbitals on the field, you're in a pretty good spot.
True.
Banshee will clean up these 2 Hellions in the middle of the map before it goes home. Of course, it has 3 kills, but almost no health, sadly. And looks like the Widow Mine has claimed a life in the meantime on the other side of the field, so 1 kill on it so far. This Widow Mine getting towards the 3rd. Will Taeja see it? Or sorry, will STC see it?
It's a race. He's gonna get it.
Yeah, I was gonna say if he couldn't, that'd be really, really depressing. But behind this, the STC, you know, he's alright. He's been doing what he can. He's been the one who's been making the aggressive moves, poking across the map. But look at what Taeja's been banking up. He's got his own Ravens. He got his his own. Wait, what happened to his Banshee? Did it die? Because I know he had one. Oh, there we go.
STC's Banshee?
No, Taeja's just moving out now. But Widow Mine claims yet another life. The Viking goes. So now 1 Viking, 1 Raven. This Widow Mine has got the most expensive kills of its life. Definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, and looking at the supplies here, STC is in a supply lead in this situation. Even SCVs for both players, and it's going to pretty much just normalize out into a regular game. But one thing I want to note is that STC's stim Rifkin is way earlier than Taeja's in this scenario.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if he'll be able to capitalize that on the course or not, because there's going to be such low counts of units on the field. Stim is great, but you can't really stim into tanks, right? Like, this tank fire, you stim, goodbye Marines.
Really like the moves from STC here to juke into the natural with the Banshee. Now he's going to be going into the main base with the Banshee to get even more SCV kills. And on those that refinery, forcing Taeja to use even more micro to rearrange his SCVs. That turret, man, just barely out of that position to be effective there.
Unless Banshee does have to book it though. Viking and Raven stop short of just being able to catch it. 3rd base being put down for the STC. And honestly, dude, he's looking to be in such a good spot this game.
Seriously, he's got that double eBay compared to Taeja's single eBay going on. His build order is just turning out to put him in a much better spot. But Taeja may have something to say about it. He's going to move across the field here with Marines and tanks. No medevacs on the field just yet, but he is making 2 at a time back at home. And meanwhile,
it's a bit of a risky move. I mean, he's got the superior tank count and the superior Marine count. There's no question about that. But of course, moving into your opponent really difficult. Oh God, he actually just lost his huge advantage. All those Marines. Look at that red. That Widow Mine, again, killed the Viking, killed the Hellion, and now has slaughtered a Marine and severely damaged the rest. And oh God, dude, if he doesn't... Oh, thank God. I was going to say, if that Raven doesn't come clean it up, he's going to lose even more there in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, I was wondering what his plan from there was. He had the scans available, but... You know, Taeja's still trying to get everything back together at home. He hasn't really put enough SCVs back on his refineries and his natural. He must be feeling kind of flustered in this situation. And STC is just hitting his stride here, Rifkin, going for that +2 infantry weapons level just right off the bat. Just about to get combat shields completed, and Taeja's stim is just now finishing.
Yeah, well, if you'll recall back to our awesome DreamHack run, we've seen Taeja come back from much worse situations than this one. So he's certainly not in the best spot right now, but he's not out of the game, that much is for sure. Not while he has tanks and Marines to command.
Banshee for the STC going to go back into the main base once again. Just be annoying as possible here.
I'm going to claim a couple SCV kills. Will still go down in the end, though.
Looking at the army supplies, slight lead here for the STC. Tank counts are staying even though, Rifkin. So that's often one of the main factors in TVT is if you can hold your tank lines, get your tank count higher up, at least in the early stages of the game, until you can transition into some type of sky composition later, but
well,
guys
actually,
just focusing on Marine tank versus Marine tank.
yeah, the Marine count's actually getting a little absurd here, and as we see, the STC is going to capitalize on this with a big stim forward, spreads his units away from the tank. Secret missiles are going to go off. It will claim the life of the tank, and maybe a couple Marines on the way out. Yes, sir. But of course, the big thing I was going to point out is 2-2 is going to be done significantly sooner for the STC than it will be for Taeja. So this is, as much as a weird deficit as it is, this is Taeja's best spot to come in for an attack. Once 2-2 finishes, it'll be 2-2 versus 1-0 for about 30 seconds, and Taeja cannot take that fight in that instance.
Nope, but he can take his third base and take additional refineries over here. So Taeja doing everything he can to continue to stay in this game. He's got 58 harvests to 65 at STC, but his income is greater at this point. And man, it just feels like it's a matter of time for the STC decides to make his move on the chess field here. What a great map to have a TVT on, Rifkin. Belshir Vestige, all these ramps, different locations. Gotta be so careful moving up and down, up and down.
Well, ramps perhaps may be irrelevant. We got 5 medevacs looking like they wanted to head towards the main, but of course scans going down everywhere, so Taeja knows what his opponent's doing. It looks like the STC also knows what Taeja's doing. Catches those medevacs red-handed on the left side of the map.
The Banshee in the middle field that was trying to hold the watchtower has gone down as well.
Oh gosh, this Raven is so low.
Now, looking at the vision for STC, he doesn't know where the third base of Taeja is. Potentially, he thinks it would be down to lower left. So maybe he's thinking that Taeja is just going to do a 2-base all-in at this point.
Well, he's actually got a Marine here in the lower left corner of the map, so he knows it's not down here. So if anywhere, it's going to be here. And you kind of have to assume your opponent's on 3 bases if they've got enough economy to continue producing tanks, to continue producing this many Marines. But this is that upgrade deficit I was talking about. 2-1 versus 1-1.
Big stim from Taeja. He's going to move in. He's not in the range of STC's tank, so...
Oh, the splitting from both of these players, so good.
STC still has not confirmed where the third base is with that scouting Marine.
Taeja playing a very risky game right now, in range of the STC's tanks, but that's the limiting vision right there.
+1 vehicle weapons upgrades about to finish up in 15 seconds here for the STC. Going to play important here. Secret missile going off. A little bit of damage.
Takes 2 to kill things, but still really good to have nonetheless. He's going to drop on top of these siege tanks, trying to get some splash damage in, but the medevac is picked off before it can unload most of the Marines. Payload not delivered, but looking towards the north, this could be a good spot for the STC. I mean, he's not got a lot of tanks up here, but that's a lot of Marines. That's a hell of a lot of Marines. Taeja, I think, is going to be caught, in a really bad spot. Tanks just shelling away. Oh, Taeja's gonna get broken on the left, gets broken in the north. He's gonna be pushed back out of these. These medevacs need to fall back right now. He can't afford to lose another unit.
Alright, that was very stressful, but it seemed like a better position for the STC the entire time. He knows where the third base is now for Taeja, and I'm not gonna be shocked if he beelines toward that in just a moment here. Rifkin looking at the tank counts now, 10-9 or 10-5 here in favor of the STC.
Some Marines gonna get caught out of position, but the tanks will pay them back in full. 1 tank for the STC, a little bit forward. But these tanks are not covered by the Marine fire, and Taeja knows this.
They're kind of feeding some Marines in there, STC. Gotta be very careful trying to break this line.
Yeah, it's getting rough at this point. Lots of tanks just training out. Again, we just see the Marine counts constantly replenishing and depleting. 8 tanks to 5 in the favor of the STC, but of course that's not enough to really just move in.
No, and Taeja's just gotten on even upgrades with the STC as well, so the Marines are going to be relatively even at this point, and more medevacs for Taeja as well.
Oh, the siege tank is in range of the refinery, just barely. But oh man, the Marines stimming forward going to do what they can. They do get one of the siege tanks.
And this isn't a good situation for the STC. Doesn't have a lot of Marines here, Rifkin, so if Taeja were to go for some drops on those tanks,
and that's what he's doing right now. Lots of friendly fire going off. Scumbag Terran units, but the STC has SCVs ready to repair. Those tanks are going to be healed up nice and quickly, which is really cool. You don't see a lot of players take the extra effort to do this.
That's true. It's almost like healing Hellions when they get damaged across the map.
I mean, it's one of those things where I think everyone knows it's good, but sometimes taking those extra actions to pull the SCVs across the field, just not worthwhile. But there's not a lot of tanks right here at the base. The tanks are covered on the low ground, not here on the high ground, and that's where the Stim Marines are going to try and take this fight. The tanks can't lay siege in time. It gets a little bit dicey, but the SDC does pick up. Going to drop on top of the tanks, and oh, that friendly fire.
It feels like the STC might be being too aggressive in this situation. He does
that's a cool
have
move.
Slight weapons upgrade now. +3 just finishing up for Taeja, so I don't know. You're always really going to have an advantage as a defender in TBT, and Taeja's taking his 4th base before the STC is taking his, so...
Yeah, and I want to point out, guys, that was not a Manor Mule. I don't want anyone to be confused. That was him trying to cause more splash damage to finish off that one really low tank. Oh, but medevac going to be picked off immediately. Oh my god. Unloads 1 Marine.
This is a peculiar situation because the STC is expanding towards Taeja while Taeja's expanding away from the STC. Taeja's got SCVs mining down here at this planetary, Rifkin, and STC, if he doesn't hold this line, that 4th base is going to drop almost immediately.
Yeah, the STC in every way in this game is playing very aggressive. Not only is he pushing forward with his tank lines, the way he's expanding, going clockwise around the map. I like these turrets coming down too. This is great. These are going to allow the tanks to stay sieged without the threat of the medevacs or Banshees even to come in and clean them up.
And STC recognizes that a lot of Taeja's army really isn't with the tank line over here, so he's getting a little nervous that he may be getting dropped. In the main base, he does have a decent turret lineup, but... Alright, now, did he scan the fact the 4th base went down? No, he didn't, so he's just going to go for it, I think, regardless. That could open up an opportunity for Taeja to push forward and take out the 4th of STC, though.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Taeja's Marine at the Watchtower saw the army there, so he will be able to react appropriately.
Oh boy.
There is...
It's a race, Rifkin.
It really is. Who can get there first? Who can defend? Who can hold on? That command center, of course, probably going to need to be canceled, but can the tanks get in position? There's actually... Doom, I don't think there's enough tanks here for Taeja. He's got a hell of a lot of Marines, though. If you can even up the tank count real quick, it will be irrelevant. Looks like he will be able to do just that.
Completely even upgrades as well, and just maybe too many units here for Taeja.
Oh, but he picks up at the last second! He picks up the last few Marines he has and drops them right on top of the tanks, and oh god, the STC will pick up his tanks and live to see another day. A bit of a wash down here in the lower corner of the map, and a nice hold by Taeja.
Taeja's going to continue building that command center as well, and he's got a small drop here to the upper left-hand corner of the map. Not sure if he's going to drop in the main base, but nothing happened at this.
Oh, it's going to get scouted, though. The STC knows it's here.
It's such a scary situation for that one Marine.
Yeah, they both, they can see one another.
Alright, so, man, another break in the game. Taeja with the sensor tower, so smart here to track the movements of the STC to see if he ever moves that tank line. And Rifkin, you gotta feel like this may be transitioning into Sky Turn if neither one of these players can break each other. They're on completely even upgrades. Taeja will have a vehicle weapons upgrade lead at some point about 100 seconds into the future. But they're pretty much building the exact same amount of Marines. They're mining off the exact same bases.
Yeah,
except Taeja's about to take his 5th.
I'm surprised Taeja didn't go northward with that medevac, though. He could have boosted past at least one of the turrets here on the left side and just dropped on top of the armory. But, oh, engagement in the middle of the map. Taeja will be the last one to siege up, so he will back up. But there's tanks on the high... Oh, they're behind the Marines. And he lost...
Is he overextended with his Marines here, though?
I don't know. He's got a lot of them, dude. These tanks are not sieged. I mean...
Just gonna push it back?
The one thing that's crazy is the amount of medevacs Taeja has on the field has not dwindled in quite some time. He's got significantly more medevacs, which is allowing him to heal his Marines a little more cost effectively than STC. But this is a rough spot. Taeja taking his 5th base. STC now on 5 bases, but that's okay for the time being. Both players just kind of casually sitting near max. Can't quite push it to the limits. And
There's
positioning.
only 4 types of units on the field, Rifkin. SCVs, medevacs,
yeah,
tanks, and Marines.
Welcome to TBT, ladies and gentlemen. But oh man, the siege tank fire from the STC. He's so good with his positioning, guys. If there's one thing, even if he loses this game, the good thing is the STC has been so great with his positioning for every single fight this game. Marine's gonna flank the side here, and these siege tanks will go down without question. And ooh, that's a bit of a hefty loss for the STC, or sorry, for Taeja to have to deal with.
And he didn't get to finish off those last 3 siege tanks there. He's going to try desperately to protect this sensor tower now. Maybe that'll force the STC to get a little nervous, but Taeja bringing in the drop back from the north side of the map to defend over here.
Yeah, this is a little bit precarious for Taeja, because now he's starting to fall a little bit farther behind, and at this stage of the game, it's going to get rough, and these tanks, oh, they're going to pop like if they're nothing at all, but Marine count is pretty much non-existent for Taeja. There's a lot of tanks here for sure, but we see these medevacs keeping everything alive for so damn long.
Small, slight overextension there from the STC, but Taeja's going to defend. Once again, sensor tower is going to fall, though, so it's going to force a lot of scans to be used. And looking back, Rifkin, these players don't have that plethora of orbital commands to expend a lot of these scans, so someone's going to run out eventually.
And man, the SCVs once again be on the front lines. Some might argue, hey, they're not mining, but hey, they're keeping these tanks alive to see another day, which is really critically important. Neither player's maxed. I mean, that's how much the trading's been going on in this game, guys. Nobody's been able to achieve max.
It's somewhat of a opportune situation for the STC here, holding that watchtower.
But again, your opponent's on 5 bases, you're on 5 bases. It's almost a bit of a stalemate in that regard, because neither player is really able to cause economic damage. And just constantly trading like this, both players are going to keep replacing units for the rest of the game. We've seen it happen already for the last 20 minutes. So unless someone can break the lines, unless someone can get into the mineral line, start causing some economic damage, or just get all the tanks through some miracle, like these drops nicely handled by the STC, I mean, until someone breaks, we're just going to see this constant sort of tug-of-war stalemate where, yes, the STC is pushing across the field, but he's not able to push in anywhere decisive.
This reminds me of a Brood War match, Rifkin.
I'm surprised we don't have more geysers coming down here at these extra bases, too, for the STC. Would love to see the extra gas consumption for both players so they get more siege tanks, but big stim forward, what's going to cost the STC? Oh, yeah, it's going to cost him a lot of his Marines, but his tanks will prevail.
It's true, and looking at the tank count here for Taeja, it's only 10 and...
Good game. Ladies and gentlemen, the STC breaks Taeja's tank lines and thus breaks Taeja. Really, I thought Taeja was going to clean this up. It'd be 3-0, or sorry, 2-1 at this point, I should say, not 3-0.
Yeah. And I guess at that point in TBT, everything's an overextension, where you just constantly just try to, as you said before, just trade units, be more cost efficient with your trades, and force your opponent to get sick and tired of what's going on, which may have happened to Taeja there. But that's the bigger story here, Rifkin. It's 3-0 for compLexity in this Acer Teamstory Cup match.
They're getting pretty darn close to that sweet, sweet victory, but